Hello, Resurrection. It's Thursday, September the 10th, and I have been sitting in front of this little camera trying to decide what I was going to say today, whether I should tell the story that I've been wrestling with in my mind, the story of yesterday, or if I should just let that go. And I've decided that I think I'm going to share with you how yesterday went at the Church of the Resurrection. I told this last night in our Wednesday Bible study, and I will probably talk again about it again on Sunday in church. I'll probably give a much more abbreviated version of it in church. But a sweet lady came in to see us in yesterday morning in the church office. She was here when I got here. Ann and Pat were already talking to her, and she was in tears. She was distraught, as a matter of fact, despondent. And this is a lady who is known to us. She is not a church attender at Resurrection, but if a church is doing things the right way, you will make friends of brothers and sisters who belong to our larger family, even though they don't necessarily go to church here. This lady was weeping, and she had in her hands an eviction notice. The eviction notice was not hers. The eviction notice was her daughter's. Her daughter, who is a honest, hardworking, good person. She's raising two children who are not even hers because she is a good person. And she was furloughed from her job about 4 months ago. I think she worked for GM. Furloughed from her job, and because of an error in her paperwork, it was not her fault. It's actually the fault of her HR department. She has not received any income at all in 4 months. So her mother was in my office, and I talked to her as I have before, and she told me her daughter's story, and she also told me that she was headed out to apply for a payday loan, a paycheck loan, and also to pawn the title on her car to be able to help her daughter so that she didn't end up on the streets. And of course she asked me if there was anything that I knew of that she could do to help. Now I'll tell you the good news of this story. The good news of this story is that while the good people of Resurrection are always generous, since this pandemic began, your generosity has just blossomed like a beautiful flower would. And we had the money to help her with her rent because of your generosity. And so it was okay. It was all right. I do wonder what will happen in the future. Now we, thanks to Mike Pace, Mike is helping the daughter to negotiate through that tangled web at the unemployment office and whatnot. You know, there's no place to go right now so that the unemployment office can walk you through this because they're all working from home because of the pandemic. So there's no one to talk to. So you have to call, and if everyone is calling at the same time because there's no place to go and see them, then it's almost impossible to get through. And if you do get through, then you talk to someone who was probably hired sometime in March to help with this huge increase in volume in telephone calls. So the system's not working as well as it could right now, and I think that's the fault of our situation, not of good people. So the bad news, the sad news of the story is that that I picked up the phone to call the law firm that the eviction notice came from, and I dealt with two people that I cannot really even put into words the horror that I experienced in working with these two folks. I won't get into the he said, she said, but because I was a third party, they of course could not divulge any information to me, but they refused even to inform me what kind of methods of payment could be used to pay a debt to their firm, this debt collection firm. They refused to talk to me about that, even in hypotheticals. They refused to accept any kind of payment for me. They refused to take a third-party check. They refused to take a money order because of some tracing issues or something. I didn't quite understand where they were coming from. They basically would not take any kind of payment. They would not even take cash. If I were to give this sweet family cash, there was no option. There was no option for them to pay the debt off in order to stay in their apartment and not be evicted. And when I said to the people on the phone, I identified myself as a priest, someone who was just trying to help them pay money. I'm just trying to get money to you. And when I said to the people on the phone, these people are going to be evicted. One of them told me yesterday, and this is a direct quote, "I don't care." And it brought into very sharp focus for me nothing that I didn't already know, but it just served as a stark reminder that there really are people, you all, against whom the cards are stacked. There are people who just cannot get out of the situation they're in because there is no mechanism for them to do that. The U.S. government, I'm not a government hater. I'm really not. I think that the U.S. government does I think they do the best they can in providing systems to help people out, but the government cannot address every need there is, and they especially cannot address individual needs, which is why it is so important for us in the church to address the needs, but also to say publicly that we really do believe, as the Gospel of Luke is so clear about, that issues of poverty and that issues of discrimination and that issues of education and access to education and issues of fair housing, all of these things go in to form really just different facets of the same stone, that all of these things in our country are related. The race issues that we're seeing, the education issues that we're seeing, so many of these things can be tied into the problems with poverty. And yesterday absolutely broke my heart. And I'm so thankful to you all that Resurrection was able to help. And I was so discouraged and so disheartened that it was almost impossible to provide that help. Now, thank goodness, I found a kind lady, someone who was, I won't tell you where she is because I don't want to get her in trouble, but I found a lady at the apartment complex where the rent was due who would bend the rules in order to talk to me about how I could help someone and how much was owed and whatnot. And we have addressed that immediate need. What I don't know will happen. What I don't know is what will happen a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now. The daughter, the sweet daughter, has found another job and she's working. She hasn't been paid yet because she's just started. I think that we can probably get her, hopefully we can get her back pay on her unemployment. She's owed some unemployment, and it's not, the error has not been on her part at all. It was on the part of the HR department who has not been able to respond yet. But I want you all to know that yesterday the Church of the Resurrection did a good thing. But I'm not necessarily feeling pride in that. I'm feeling gratitude that we were able to do it, and I'm feeling gratitude toward God that He's given us the ability to help in those situations. But really all I felt yesterday was bad because I didn't know what would happen to this family in the future. We don't have unlimited resources, and so we cannot help people in unlimited ways. And what I am praying for is a cease in the hostilities that we have toward each other in the country right now, political divisions, so that we can come together as a people, and dare I say, as the people of God in this country, and we can address real issues that need to be addressed. Do you know what Jesus talked about more than anything? Jesus talked about love. He talked about love more than any other topic. Do you know what he talked about next after that? Well, he talked about money. Money is the thing that Jesus talked about more than anything else, except for the one thing. It's number 2 on the list of Jesus' talking points. And when he talked about money, he talked about being careful, because too much money can get to you. It really can if you're not careful, if you're not doing the right things with it. And he talked about poverty. He talked about feeding the poor. He talked about clothing the naked. And folks, he wasn't joking about that. He was serious. And Jesus spoke in my heart yesterday in dealing with this family who couldn't get out of their situation on their own for anything. I saw it with my own eyes. I don't know what I would have done had I been in that situation. I want to thank you for your generosity, and I want to remind you that if the church does not do the things that it's doing, if the church does not continue to collect the food, if the church doesn't continue to provide the coats, if the church doesn't continue to help people with their groceries and help people with their rent, I don't know who else will do that. I really don't. I love you. I appreciate you so much. I can't think of anybody else in the entire world that I would want to do this with the way that I want to do it with you. I thank you for the way that you do it, and I will see you very soon.